Right. Thank you. Kia ora. Good morning. Welcome to the hearing for the Navigation Safety Bylaw. Was it the 23rd of April already? 23rd of April. Perhaps ask the panel members to introduce themselves first so that everybody knows who we are.
Councillor Paul Evans from Fiordin, live in Kiania.
Morris Rodway, councillor for the Invercargill electorate.
Thank you, Boris. And I'm Lyndall Ludlow. I'm a fourth term councillor now. And I held my chair's certification for making good decisions for about 10 years nearly. So looking forward to the opportunity to do some work today. We'll start with a whakatauki, which is an aquatic theme. Kia mate ururoa, kia mate whike, which means fight like a shark, don't give in like an octopus. You can draw your own conclusions about that. Just very quickly, for fire exits are at the front of the chamber. Look for the running green man. There are quite a few extension cords around, so please take care. Bathrooms are out the way you came in. There's a men's toilet in the entryway and a unisex toilet in the reception area. We're planning on breaking at 11 for morning tea, and submitters, you're welcome to grab some coffee and tea off to the side there. Water's also available just over there. Welcome also those online. You'll have to get your own morning tea. Firstly, we just need to hear from Councillor Rodway because he has a declaration to make regarding a perceived conflict of interest.
Thank you. I'm a past employee of Fish and Game in Southland. I retired in 2016. I do hold a trout fishing licence. I am not a Fish and Game councillor. I do know staff members of Fish and Game, including Jacob Smythe. However, due to the time lapse between now and when I retired, I do not believe I have a conflict of interest. I also do know personally several members of the Jet Boat Association.
Thank you, Councillor. Given that Council appointed as a whole, appointed the three of us to hear the submissions and sit on the hearing panel, I don't think we have a problem with that, so long as it is noted, and I'm sure Councillor Rodway will conduct himself as expected. So we're all happy with that.
Happy with that.
I think we can move on. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor. Recommendations, we have quite a number, and some of them we need to do at the beginning and some of them we need to do at the end. So the first few I'll take as a bunch, but I'll just read them so that everybody's aware that that's what we're doing to begin with. The first one is note that the proposed draft navigation safety bylaw has undergone a special consultative procedure under section 83 of the Local Government Act 2002, and submissions have been received. Except the two late submissions received on the draft navigation safety bylaw, I might be able to say that by the end of the day, after the closing of the consultation period, excuse me, receive the 40 submissions made on the draft navigation safety bylaw, hear from submitters who have requested to be heard in respect of their submission, and the fifth one is consider submissions received to inform recommendations on the draft navigation safety bylaw. Would just like to ask staff for an explanation as to the two late submissions.
Yes, submission 039 was received over the counter the day after. Wasn't a reason for that. Submission 040 in Bylaw City Council was late just due to their council meeting dates and when they got that signed off to send it to us. Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
It's not my habit to receive late things because you set a deadline, you set a deadline. Otherwise, there's no point. However, they are good reasons and they were very close to the dates. So happy with that. So the remaining recommendations we can't make decisions on until after the process. Do you want to say something, Councillor? No? All right.
No,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. That takes us to the staff report, I think. Acknowledging that we've got Will Williams and the legal advice team on hand as well if we need them. Thanks, team.
Okay, so I'll provide a short summary of the key matters arising from the submissions. Overall submissions were generally supportive of the intent of the bylaw. The main areas of feedback are area-specific provisions, including the speed uplifted areas and activities on Lake Te Anau, including the proposed safe swimming reservation at Steamers Beach. So in relation to Steamers Beach, map 2.3 in Appendix B shows the proposed reservation, but a larger map has been provided today to assist the hearing process and the panel. One point to note from the submissions on that topic is the use of either south of or west of the yacht club jetty. In the context of the submissions, they're referring to the same area. So if you're standing at the jetty looking out to the lake, they're meaning the left of the jetty down towards the point. The bylaw uses east or west. Appendix A uses what the submitter had provided to us. So sometimes that is south of, but it means the same as west of the jetty. But hopefully that larger map can better clarify where the jetty is in relation to the area and the boat ramp. And the next one, speed uplifted areas. This topic received the greatest level of feedback. Submissions raised concerns about the extent and location of the areas, timing of the seasonal uplifts, and the potential effects on other waterway users and activities. There were also submissions, including from Jet Boating New Zealand, raising questions about the process undertaken to develop the bylaw and the lawfulness and scope of council's powers when it comes to making or rejecting a speed uplifted area. Paragraphs 30 to 39 of the hearing report respond to those legal matters. In particular, that legal advice was obtained on the scope of council's powers in relation to section 33M of the Maritime Transport Act. That advice confirmed that speed uplift areas are within council's bylaw making powers, provided they are included for the purpose of ensuring maritime safety and they are not inconsistent with the maritime rules. It also confirmed that council can take into account other relevant factors such as conflicting uses and activities, safe access, and the combination of activities in a given location, and where those factors may indicate that a speed uplift could increase the maritime safety risk, that it could be considered that that speed uplift would not be for the purpose of ensuring maritime safety. It was noted within the advice consideration has been given as to whether the provisions of the draft bylaw and the maritime rules can manage any potential safety risks to support the inclusion of the requested speed uplifts. So that approach and responses to specific requests is within Appendix A, and you would have noticed that some of the proposed amendments introduce new speed uplifted areas. These have been marked in Appendix A as would benefit from further consultation. They are set out and mapped in Appendix C. Staff considered that the introduction of a new speed uplift area is significant as it removes the 5 knot speed limit that in areas that it hasn't previously been applied. So the addition of those areas would cover extensive stretches of river and result in quite a substantial increase of speed uplifted areas across the region. So it's considered that further consultation on these would be beneficial. So as the views of the wider community on these amendments are not well known this time, they also collectively represent a significant change to the Bylaw that may not have been anticipated when the statement of proposal was notified in November. So while council is not required to reconsult, if the panel look to accept those recommendations, the panel may wish to recommend that to council if it considers that further information may be required.
Yeah.
But just making it clear, it's not a requirement. So I might take the rest of the report as read and we can move to questions. We have Ms. Shelton Williams online to assist if the panel have questions on any of that or any legal questions at the time.
Thank you. Councillor Rombo, did you want to start there with questions?
No, I don't really have any questions on the staff report. I just wanted perhaps on if a waterway was say narrow and winding and had obstructions in it, would it be appropriate for us to allow a general speed uplifting on that so that people could travel at speeds greater than 5 knots at any time? Would that be a consideration that we would have to think about?
Yes, so that's something that in the recommendations we had considered. So there are times where vessels exceeding 5 knots is required for tidal influence or to avoid hazards. So that's something that we did take into account.
Yeah.
Some of the submissions did provide some information on potential risk and why they needed to travel exceeding 5 knots. Some submissions did not. So it really depended on the level of information that we had to make that assessment.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
That's it.
No, just there's not much changes as such. What would be the areas of change, do you think, in the new bylaw? What sections of river would be the biggest concern?
Changes to existing one, they weren't significant, so there are already existing speed uplifted areas. The changes that would be significant are new areas that would be opened up as a result of the recommendations and the requests that we received. Yeah, everything in Appendix C. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple. I'm just wondering if you could explain more in a little bit more detail, not heaps, the nature of the fish and game regulations and the considerations of the seasonality that one of the submitters raised that, but I'd just like an explanation of what that was.
Yeah, the considerations that we had made to those recommendations and in the draft bylaw before it was notified, we looked at seasonal fishing activity and game bird hunting seasons. We didn't look at what we can't look at trout habitat and things like that. That wasn't a consideration that we considered.
And that data came from fish and game.
The regulations that they provide.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Thank you. And the second question, it's more my personal confusion than anything. But intuitively, speed uplift to me, because I'm a driver, right, means that you are actually increasing the risk, not increasing the safety, right? So I'm wondering if you can explain to us why, apart from the jet boat manoeuvrability issue, why raising the speed limit is more safe than not raising the speed limit.
Yeah, so like I said, some of the submissions did provide some evidence as to why they may need to travel exceeding 5 knots. So that includes things like rocks that they may need to maneuver around, or areas that have tidal influence that they can't travel that 5 knots. So in those circumstances, it may be more safe for a vessel to travel in a speed up uplifted area, particularly when it comes to things like the Jacobs River estuary, which came up quite a bit. So that's quite a good example where safety may be increased if vessels can travel faster.
Okay. The other thing is, I'm wondering if you can give me your perspective, perhaps, and maybe Michelle. One of the submitters is suggesting that there's a difference between safety is unacceptably compromised by the creation of a speed uplift or not. And our view is, your view is that the inclusion of a speed uplift area is for the purposes of ensuring maritime safety. So can you give me a wee bit of your views on that, the difference that actually is?
Yeah, I might talk briefly on it and then maybe I'll ask Michelle to throw some comment. But so that submission that you're referring to that had that different view, that was also provided by a lawyer, their interpretation of the Act and the maritime rules. Our position was provided by Lynn Williams on that, so I think it sort of came down to how they interpret Bylaw. But I might let Michelle take over because she.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Michelle, just with reference to maybe the Act as well.
Yes, so there are 2 different types of speed lifts. Essentially, one is that you can have a speed uplift in your navigation safety bylaw, which that is part of this process. And then another form of speed lift is when someone makes an application for a speed lift area to the council or Maritime New Zealand, and it's that second application process that I think Jet Boat New Zealand were referring to, and that has the test of whether uplifting a speed limit will not unacceptably increase the risk to navigation safety or endanger persons using the waters that are the subject of the application. So that process, which has its own public notification requirement, has a different test to if the council is considering including a speed uplift in this bylaw process. And in this process, the relevant test is, will that ensure maritime safety?
Right, that actually does help quite a lot. Thank you very much. Yes, certainly.
Thank you for that. That was very helpful. This map here, this photograph, we've got the 200 meters that way. What is the distance along there? It looks like it might be about 300 or something like that. Do you know that?
The map, no, so we mapped the extent of it depending on where those facilities were, not the extent as in meters.
Can you
across
provide that information, please? What that distance is? Or,
we can get that information for you.
thank you.
Might take a few moments.
Yep, that's right.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Sometime
Yeah.
before we finish. Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor?
Just relating to the legal advice of New Zealand about operation and about safety. The operation of a she's very unique. The draw or draft at speed is a lot less than 5 knots. Safety implications, if we wanted to look at the safety implications, are different at low draw as in at 5 knots. In fact, 5 knots or less, it could be worse. Very unsafe. Some parts of the river. So I will be asking for a wee bit more clarification as we work through these submissions just on that, because it's important to make sure that we get right. and the understanding of how a operates. So
Yes, sorry, I just need to write this down. Okay. We are a wee bit ahead of schedule. But that gives me time to welcome the submitters who have joined us already. Thank you very much. A, for your initial submissions, and B, for being willing to come and speak to us in person, because that's it's not necessarily a comfortable place for everybody. So you're pleased that you've A, submitted, and B, you've come to talk to us today. Just so that you all are clear, you have a 10-minute opportunity in front of us this morning. If you would please assume that we have read your submission. We have undoubtedly read it more than once, actually. So use your time to highlight anything in particular that you would like us to be aware of, which would give us time to ask you any questions after. So it's up to you how you use that time, but it's quite helpful if we get a few minutes to ask you some questions at some point. Okay. Yes.
Just I had trouble hearing staff member about the Steamers Beach staff report. Would you want to repeat it, please?
Oh yes, well we have got a couple of minutes, so yes, we can do that for you.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, especially with the Facebook towards the end.
The acoustics in here are terrible anyway. So thank you.
So in reference to Steamers Beach, the map 2.3 and Appendix B shows that reservation. But I mentioned before that a large map had been produced to assist the panel. This is the one that was held up earlier, but we can put that on the screen later on. The point I noted on the topic was submissions used south of or west of the jetty. In the context of the submissions, they meant the same area to the left of the jetty down towards the point. I was just noting that for the panel. And the bylaw uses east or west, but Appendix A used what the submitter had provided to us. And then our discussion before, when that map was held up, was what was the extent of the area in metres. I mentioned that the extent is based on where the jetty and the boat ramp are, but we can provide the extent in metres later on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for raising that. We'll try and remember to do that going forward. Mr. McHugh, then, we might, if you're here, we'll take you. I don't know that they have arrived yet. Would we be opposed to? Oh, we haven't really got very long, actually. Just wait a couple of minutes rather than popping somebody in early, because otherwise we'll end up behind. We're not quite far enough ahead for that. So if you don't mind, the Winds and Water Te Anau Limited, you'll be hopefully, are you here? Yes, great. So Mr. McHugh is not here in a couple of minutes. We'll take you. In the meantime, you can look amongst yourselves. Someone that's okay. Can I just, can you take those down? Because we've had a look at them. Are you all right with that?
Bruce, the submitter for the Mercury Yacht Club, just to give an idea what we're talking about.
Yes.
I think I shot up the other rangefinder is really too simple. No, it's just an old.
Anybody else got one? We've got another view on here if you want.
But there's no need for me to.
Linda, can you take that down with you? Thank you.
No.
Mr. McHugh, are you here?
While we wait, Conrad just sent me the extent of that area that was discussed.
Oh, great. Yep, thank you.
So that is about 260 metres across Stevens Beach.
350.
260.
I think the shop 270. It's range right now.
Hunter McHugh, are you here? No. Ms. Krippner, we might take you then. You okay with that? Again, just for those who've just joined us, spitters have 10 minutes. We have read your submissions, so highlighting anything in particular that you would like us to be aware of and allowing some time for us to ask you any questions is ideal. Can we have some more lights, maybe for the submitters, because it's all
I do like to see.
And we do have a timer, so if you hear weird noises, it's so there'll be a 5-minute and then a 10-minute. Thanks.
Thank you, councillors and Harbour Master, for seeing us. My name is Kai from Winds and Water, and basically I'm down here primarily for safety reasons. And I feel like this is a great opportunity for us all together to get this thing as right as possible. I've just read in the paper we're becoming the next Wanaka in Te Anau, so that brings a few considerations for us. The lake is getting busier. Ivan and I have been operating the float plane on the waterfront there for just over 10 years, and we're noticing those holiday periods, the lake's getting busier and busier with traffic, so passive recreation and definitely powered vessels. And this is all about the rules. So I just thought it'd be quite good just to quickly run across. I think people that live in Te Anau and are users of the lake all understand our requirements as we understand their needs, and we all work together very well. The recreationists, the yacht club, the swimming groups, the transportation operators, and ourselves. So no issues whatsoever from a safety point of view there. But once the itinerant traffic turns up from out of town, it's a completely different ballgame. Flying float planes in Fiordland, you'd think, the biggest risk should really be flying around in the mountains and operating in the air, but it's not for us. It's the on the water stuff that presents the largest risk. So I just wanted to run through, I think Steamers Beach, what you've been talking about, is quite a hot spot. And traditionally it was put in for non-powered vessel use, and it was upheld until about probably 20 years ago, and since then it's sort of not really being policed, and more and more people are using it as an alternative to the main boat ramp, and it's causing, basically, I think it's causing all the problems that we have on the lake. Here we all are sitting nitpicking over what's actually quite a small area when we've really got 65 kilometres of lake plus all the side arms, so there's plenty of space. So I've just got the photo here, very much like your map, and boat plane offices down here. So with us utilising a designated float plane area, I've got the yachting. The yachties are slow and predictable for us. The swimming, passive recreation uses, they're slow and visible to us. The transportation area up the side, regular predictive movements. The floatplane alighting area actually for us goes from the shore, not from the 5 knot markers. We need all the room to turn and manoeuvre, particularly if we are dealing with wind, because we have a large tail and that wants to cock us hard back nose into wind. So sometimes we need a little bit more space to turn. And then I've just put on there the public holiday season out of town powered vessels operate more and more recklessly without concern for the designated areas that have been specifically designated for the lake users. So that is our greatest risk. So that's my first one there. The council have put up signs, which is really much appreciated at the boat ramp, powered boat and jet ski restrictions, including motorised vessels, and the floatplane areas on there is the passive recreation area. So that's really helpful because a lot of this comes down to education. These are the old signs that are dotted around the lake from our office to the yacht club, which basically says power boats and jet skis prohibited between the Marakura Yacht Club jetty and Waterwings jetty, passive recreation only. And when that's the case, the swimmers are safe, the paddleboarders are safe, we're safe. Wake provides quite a risk to us for our operation. This is an aerial view of Steamers Wharf, with the pink line being a public walkway, and the car park up the top is beside the dock car park. A lot of dock staff overflow into there and Kepler track walkers. There is no designated boat and trailer parking there. It was never meant to be used as a public boat ramp for powered vessels. This is a view looking basically at the town with the point with the yacht club and sort of here. I think you've just been talking about this beach area through this way. And this is the kind of view that I might have coming into land. I can assess the wind. The boats are all pointing into wind. They're a great windsock. The floatplane will always take off and land into wind. The wind can change every 15 minutes, so we might not be taking off and landing the same way. So most of the wind comes from the north, so we're landing that way, or it swings around to the west and we're taking off that way, and then you get the southerlies and we're taking off this way. So that's basically trying to put it into the context of where that designated alighting area is situated with the swimming and transport. And then as you get a little lower coming into land, the trees come up with your perspective, and we're really much fixating on landing here now, coming in, landing to the north. And with the green arrow, you can get boats popping out from that sort of beach area to the south west of the Maroa Yacht Club, and in and out, operating off that beach, not normally doing anything under 5 knots. So all of a sudden they may present themselves right in front of us, and they shouldn't actually be, I don't think, technically operating off that beach. So that happens during the season when it's a holiday period, because the locals don't really do that. And then, yeah, they tend to come out and tow their biscuits and do whirlies and do some rooster tails and just basically stir up the whole area, which basically means that if that whole area is stirred up, we can't land there. So we have to then, as we're getting low and slow, we need to then reposition, which is a high-powered manoeuvre, and we've got to sort of try and pop up and reposition somewhere else, which we're doing on a regular basis during the holidays, but it's not our best practice. So I just wanted to give you some context around the floatplane's sort of uniqueness. And I think the bylaws are good, you know, if they're monitored and regulated, that would be great. Education is a plus, and probably a little bit of policing to start with would actually probably nip it in the butt, because news travels fast. If a couple of fines were issued to boaties that were operating unlawfully, I think we would get around. I have to be careful if I pull someone up, because there can be repercussions for our business, people coming back and vandalising and being abusive and that sort of stuff. So we're quite keen just to keep it as professional as possible. And of course, taking into account biodiversity, just general stewardship. We're there all the time. We're there to help the yachties, the boaties, they help us, and we all work together to basically, if someone is making a bit of an idiot of themselves, normally somebody will sort of approach them. Could be any of the locals, along with drones flying above us unlawfully. So basically I'm here because we do need your support from here, looking to the future to keep that part of the lake as safe as possible. There's no reason why it shouldn't be really safe and enjoyable for everybody, but functional for people as well. So thank you. And you're welcome to have the photos if you want them.
Thanks very much. Visuals are always a bonus. Questions? Announcements?
Yes, good morning, Polly, how are you?
Morning, Paul.
Just with regards to the area that you're talking about, and the areas in the bylaw that we're changing to a passive recreational swimming area as well, and we've always known that beach steamers beaches for non-powered. There's been an upgrade made to the boat ramp there. Would it be a suggestion to put a row of buoys out from that boat ramp, or would that just say boats that are put into the water there away from the recreational area? It would still have concerns for you with boats travelling through.
I don't think the
Takeoff,
answer is
land-off,
probably putting a transit lane through there. I think the answer is to try and encourage people as much as possible to use the other boat ramp. I know there's been money spent on it, but it's a cluster for parking.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, the sort of traffic that, the people that we're dealing with aren't the sort of people that are, if you just keep putting more layers of navigation equipment on the lake, it's not really the sort of people that are responsive to that. I think it's just, unfortunately, and for us, that it's just another thing for us to look out for at a time when we have a high workload, which is taking off and landing.
It's a multiple user area, isn't it?
Yeah.
Also, the other question I was going to have was around the signage at the boat ramps. I know you put up a sign. I've been there and taken photos as well, and it's a rather large map showing all of the area, but not specifically to where I'm standing at that map. And that, I found that maybe it would be better, do you believe, to have a better map that zoomed into the area that they're at so they can understand it better? Because the map that's there may be too much information and not more specific to the area.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the map that is good for people that are interested enough to go and look at the map. It's like if I go to a boat ramp on the south coast, I'll walk up to a sign and I'll have a look at what the quota restrictions are and the fishing regulations for that area, and I'll spend time there going through it. It's not really a snapshot glance sort of a map. Probably potentially lower down the boat ramp, a larger snapshot would be good. I think having the little floating pontoon that's been put there, that speaks volumes. This is an area for passive recreation. This is an area where kids are going to be jumping off, and I think that's a really effective tool, having that there.
And would you agree regarding the signage that because it's quite a large picture, people look at it, you don't even have that you are here, but
Yeah,
on the map,
yeah.
because a lot of times you can't actually work out where you are standing, putting boat in from that map. So maybe it
Yeah.
would be better to have a more in-depth
Yeah, I reckon
information.
a picture, a big picture with a swimmer, a plane, a yacht, and an arrow.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Councillor Rodway?
Thank you. So I think you said you would prefer it if the boat ramp on this beach was not used for power boats and jet skis, is that right? It is at the moment.
It would mitigate all of our safety concerns for the future. As the lake gets busier, as more and more people seek Te Anau out as a recreational paradise that it is, it's just wonderful. It's such an amazing place for people to come and enjoy the natural outdoors. But yeah, it just poses so many safety risks just in and around that little bay. And when you get up into the air and you see how big the place is, people do have the ability to go across to the water ski lanes on the other side, up and find beaches and other areas. Obviously, further up the lake, you've got the public pontoon for the kids beside the marina, and that's a great spot further on from there for people to operate their boats off the beach. So there is space. I know quite a few years ago it was presented that maybe a boat ramp get put further around towards St Clair Road, right round on the north side of town, which would give boaties another opportunity. If it was developed with ample parking, they would go there, they would use it, they wouldn't be tootling and backing and sort of trying not to run people over on the walking track at steamers. So
who put that boat ramp in, and how long has it been there for?
It's been there for absolutely for decades. Actually, do you know the answer to that? You guys from the yacht club? Yacht.
I don't know the exact dates, but it's been there forever.
It's
been dock footed in the early 60s.
Yeah, so and Real Journeys would have been part of that, so that they could dry dock their vessels, and it was used by the float plane as an emergency out if we needed to do emergency maintenance. The plane would get pulled up there. So it has been
I
there
do need to kind of cut you off.
Okay, so I guess what you're saying is if that boat ramp was not used for power boats and jet skis, that would solve a lot of the problems you're talking about.
It would nip it in the butt.
Thank you.
Two really quick things from me. Why is it that people are not using main base and coming down to that ramp, firstly? And secondly, what is the busy, you mentioned in your submission the busy times and that you're getting busier. So just a part of that question is, are the busier times getting longer, like from instead of November to February, they're getting October to whatever. So those two questions.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily that those times are getting longer, they're getting more intensively used. So that'll be Christmas through till, the 10th of January, and then all the long holidays, the public holidays. Yeah,
Okay,
and then
clear.
it's,
Thank you.
there is no problem.
And the reason they're using that boat ramp rather than the other one?
A lot of people will be staying at the holiday park across the road, so it's right there. It's very convenient. They don't have to drive down through town and over the speed bumps. And anyone who sort of lives on that side of town will gravitate to it just because it's close and convenient.
Okay, thank you very much. In that case, thank you very much for coming in. It's always really interesting to hear from people who are deeply knowledgeable about these certain things. So thanks very much.
Did you have any need for the photos at all?
No, I can leave them with us if you like.
I was thankful in the knowledge that the float plane's been operating since 1962.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
No worries.
You will hear from us.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Driving.
Appreciate people coming in person at this current time of fuel shortages fuel challenges, I should say. We really appreciate it. Mr. McHugh, are you here? No. Okay, so that takes us to Jet Boating New Zealand. Nathan Barker and Good morning. Just a reminder, you have 10 minutes, which can we have a ding at 5? And then another ding at 10. Just so sure, thank you. So yes, I've got some time to ask some questions if you.
I asked there's some documents I submitted yesterday. Have they been received?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just talk through the text and if you have them ready to relook. Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, good morning. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak to you today. My name is Nathan Barker. I'm here representing JBNZ, Jet Boating New Zealand. I've been an active member of JBNZ for more than 10 years and have held roles on the JBNZ Southern Committee, as well as branch chairman for 2 years. And I'm currently the Southern Rivers Committee chairman and also sit on the National Rivers Committee for JBNZ. And with me here is Andrew Colley, our current National Vice President, who's held similar roles within JBNZ, as well as serving on the National Board for a number of years now. So just quickly, JBNZ, our objectives are to advocate for our members' recreational jet boating opportunities in New Zealand, to encourage safer jet boating, to foster relationships with other stakeholders and river users, and to promote the membership of JBNZ. Operationally, we have around 2,700 members nationally. 360 of them are in Southland. Our membership is made up of recreational boaters who enjoy a day trip exploring rivers with family and friends, as well as people using jet boats as a means of access for hunting and fishing. JBNZ Southland organise approximately 14 events per year, and 6 of these events are held on sections of river that are currently requiring a 1-day temporary speed uplift through Environment Southland. So why are speed uplifts important to us? The boat's operating in a river environment with a variety of natural characteristics. Maintaining enough speed to remain planing is essential when navigating changing depths, rapids and shallow channels, all common features in Southland waterways. So when a jet boat's operating at low speeds or off the plane, it will sit about half a metre deep in the water. When the jet boat is at a speed sufficient to be on the plane, it can easily navigate water as shallow as 100 mil or 10 centimetres. To achieve and maintain planing speed, a recreational jet boat needs to be able to travel between 15 and 19 knots, which is about 29 to 35 kilometres an hour. Something a 5-knot speed restriction does not allow. It's important to understand we're not asking for speed uplifts to allow us to travel as fast as we can, merely to be able to navigate and explore waterways for recreational purposes. So river racing, jet sprint racing and any commercial jet boating activities are not affiliated with JBNZ. These are organisations that manage their own consents and temporary event applications separate to JBNZ. We are here to represent recreational jet boating only. So our comments on the draft bylaw. So JBNZ's submission outlined a list of river sections we have identified as holding significant value to recreational jet boaters. Section 33M of the Maritime Act gives Regional Council power to make navigational bylaws for the purpose of ensuring maritime safety in its region. JBNZ would argue that the additional uplifts sought above what is currently available to us present no additional risk of navigation safety issues. If you look at the supplied document with the photos, Appendix 1, it shows photos of these sections which are currently speed restricted. You can clearly see there is good visibility, deeper pools and wide channels that would easily allow navigation around other vessels, fishermen or swimmers should the need arise, although encounters with other river users on these sections of the rivers are infrequent. Their physical structure does not differ much from the sections with current permanent speed uplifts. We have organised 1-day events with temporary speed uplifts on these sections of rivers for years without incident. The Arete River between Winton and Dipton has had a permanent speed uplifting since 1981, and the Waia River even longer. Both waterways are popular resources for anglers, swimmers and hunters, and yet both have been managed without serious incident between recreational boaters and other river users. I've also attached a map here showing a section of the Arete River between Lumsden and Mossburn that clearly shows that this section of river has among the least land-based anglers access points of any river section in Southland, and therefore stands to reason it would also pose little to no issues with navigation safety and other river users. The suggestion of seasonal speed uplifts on the lower tidal sections of rivers does not allow boat access for whitebaiters, anglers or duck shooters. This needs to be considered as there are other recreational boaters, not necessarily jet boaters, who frequently access these stretches of water for these reasons. Attached also in the supplied documents is a signed MOA between JBNZ and the Southland Whitebait Association, seeking a permanent speed uplift on these lower tidal sections of the rivers for this reason. In summary, JBNZ do not place themselves in a position of higher priority than other river users. The resource in our waterways is one to be shared, and history has shown that we can do so without significant adverse outcomes. While we feel the recommendations for amendments to the draft bylaw outlined in the report issued by ES are a positive move, JBNZ still argue there are no navigation safety issues that should prevent the proposed uplifts in our table in Appendix 1 to be set in place. We believe that we are being unduly restricted for reasons outside navigation safety. This is also evident on more than one occasion in the references to a seasonal uplift being outside whitebaiting, fishing and game bird seasons in the staff comments of the report. If it is safe for recreational boating to be a permitted activity alongside other river users, and the data has shown that it is, why can our recommendations not be adopted for more permanent uplifts? If the suggestion of further consultation in relation to the speed upliftings is to be sought, JBNZ would have a keen interest in being part of these discussions. The river sections, terminology and dates can be hard to follow, and JBNZ are well versed in understanding the geographical layout of the river sections as they're described in the bylaw and the maps. Thank you very much, and welcome any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Ron, do you have any questions coming to me?
Oh, yes, thank you very much for your submission. Some of these photos, now I understand that you're wanting to have an uplift over the winter period for the Arete River up as far as the Mount Nicholas Bridge, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And the Aparima River up above the confluence of the Hamilton Burn and the Jacobs River Bridge up to some huts which are further up. So it's about another 10 kilometres above there or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Now, do you know what you've got a photo here of the Arete River at Three Kings. Do you know what the flow was at that time?
That was 18 cubics.
18. Okay. And do you know what the minimum flow is up there?
The minimum flow?
Or the normal flow, yeah.
I'll have to look at that. It's.
So, you don't know?
No.
Do you think that those particular rivers, that's the Upper Aparima and the Upper Arete, would be safe to navigate when the water level is low?
I think we need to keep in mind that the demographic of recreational boating, whether it be jet boating or otherwise, is changing. There's a lot more inflatable and smaller vessels that can easily navigate sections of river that we couldn't navigate in a recreational boat of that size. So some of our membership is made up of those people. We have run smaller boat runs before for smaller boats, inflatables, and that's the likes. So, well, I'd say on the same token, we wouldn't probably run an event in a flood. If the river was swollen and flooded too. So, I guess on the day, drive the conditions and
I would suggest it's not possible to navigate if the flow if the flow is low.
Yeah.
Then it's simply not possible to navigate. But more question for you is if the flow is extremely high, that probably poses more risk and it's unsafe to navigate.
Likewise, the Winton to Dipton's open all year round at the moment, and there's some times where it's too low to safely navigate, so people don't boat. Yeah.
There was an incident last year, I believe, Meriti River above Mossburn, that boaties came to grief and had to be rescued. Do you know what the conditions were like at that time and what was the situation there?
I believe looking at the report, there was some other factors as well. It wasn't just navigation error, much like drink driving on the road. If something was to happen, we don't call the road unsafe, but it's a matter of how people drive on the road as well. So
it might be noted that the photo in Appendix 1 and 1.1 was taken the following day.
Oh, yeah.
so actually would have been about 18 cubic. Yeah.
My question is do you think that by allowing speed uplifting in these particular areas and the other areas that you've promoted, but particularly those areas, would enhance maritime safety?
I don't think there's any evidence that would say that it would pose additional risks. Those sections of river are not dissimilar from the sections we're boating now.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Evans.
Yeah, no,
10 or 5.
thank you. I can understand your submission and really appreciate it. What are your concerns in simple terms of the changes in the bylaw or any changes that might affect it? Or is it just that you are looking at our rivers and thinking maybe there's some opportunity to open up more waterways for uplift?
It's a bit of both. I think we're always looking, once again, we're not the only people enjoying the resource, but we don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to. There's probably more speed restrictions on our region than there is anywhere else nationally, I'd argue. And from a position of navigational safety, we can't see why. We feel it's more an environmental stance than navigation safety.
Yeah. And I can totally agree with your terminology, your thoughts around higher flows as well as lower flows, and that's indicative of the person putting the boat in and traversing. I note your photo 4.1 of the Apparima River looking up the Jacobs Creek Bridge would suggest in the last few months it doesn't look like that. It's looking a lot lower.
Yes.
So like, you know, and I look at it and think, I wouldn't go up there. So I do understand that. So thank you for your submission.
Thank you. Just a philosophical question, I guess, really quickly. What's your understanding of the difference between increasing risk and maintaining safety? Because that's the tension that we've got in my mind. So I'm interested to hear what you think the difference is, if there is one.
Yeah, so I would suggest it's more of a term from our perspective as increasing access rather than a question of a safety concern. You know, we certainly see no, you know, the terminology piece saying, you know, it's a road if it's icy, poses a safety issue, but if you drive the conditions, ultimately it's safe, and the same terminology can be put to a waterway or a river for that matter. So it's more of an access question rather than a safety, that we see no, you know, no reason that these waterways can't be navigated safely, and hence the request.
Okay, thank you. Right, well, thanks very much for your time and your very comprehensive submission. We are over time. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate the extensive effort.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bruce Keane. Mr. Keane, on behalf of the Marakura Yacht Club. And I know you were here when I first said you've got 10 minutes, so I won't say that all again. Could we have the dinger a bit louder, please? Sorry. It causes me unnecessary stress if I can't hear it.
We're here to speak on the reserved passive swimming area at Steamers Beach, Lake Tiana. America Yacht Club was established and formed in 1969, and the jetty was built by members at around the same time period. And its primary function was for the yacht club to have access to the lake, use their ribs and sail, coach, have regattas based around that jetty and the yacht club, and the water's immediately in front of the yacht club. So that was a primary function of that jetty at that time. And just to emphasise, there is no ramp at the yacht club in the vicinity of that jetty for pleasure boats, paired pleasure boats to launch and retrieve. And that was one of the prime functions of a jetty in the Bylaw. So there's no ramp there for pleasure boats to launch and retrieve. There are up to 24 children per session on Monday evenings, with include some adults in that. And that is in the period between October and the end of October, April. So it's every Monday night. Well, it's not every Monday night. We don't do it in the school holidays. The America Yacht Club abide by Yachting New Zealand rules that state we must have one escort/rescue boat per 6 dinghies. That is for coaching, and it drops down to one escort rescue boat per 10 dinghies for a regatta. Now, there is a difference, I want to point out, between drivers of our ribs who have all attended a club boat operator course and qualified as qualified drivers for those ribs. Which is a difference between, just a point, there is a difference between our ribs and drivers compared to a pleasure vessel just there for just pleasure, who have, there is no requirements at all for licenses or requirements to drive a pleasure boat. So there's quite a big difference between our drivers and just normal pleasure boats. We feel is essential for our escort rescue boats to be able to operate in the waters around the jetty and the passive, and also in the passive reserved area to coach, train and rescue young sailors in trouble. The presence of our escort boats, as it's a coaching in and regattas, gives inexperienced sailors the ability to go out, give it a go, and build their confidence so they're able to go out on their own. They are more confident sailors. The America Yacht Club runs 4 major regattas each sailing season, involving multiple sailors from throughout Southland and the South Island. Plus, when we have these major regattas, we do get assistance from likes of the Bluff Club, Wakata Club. They bring maybe 1 or 2 ribs to make up the numbers, so we have don't have any safety issues. Plus, in the weekends, we run not every weekend, we run just club events, but the numbers aren't so high, but it's still out of the yacht club and around the jetty. And the America Yacht Club jetty has become one of the most popular spots for swimming in Lake Te Anau. Going off the jetty is very popular, with hundreds of people enjoying the use of the jetty. Not hundreds of people all at once, but you sit down at the yacht club on this hot sunny day, especially in the holiday periods, there is hundreds of kids and people swimming around the jetty and down the beach, which the steamer's boat ramp. Just backing up, the America escort boat drivers have been trained to be aware of swimmers and are very responsible for manoeuvring escort boats around the jetty when swimmers are present. I do agree with Piley, who spoke before, that the steamer's beach ramp does cause problems for boats launching out there and passing through the passive, or around the outside of the passive area. Most pleasure boats
don't enter the area because of the signage. Some do. And the boats that park on the west or south side of the jetty do cause a problem, especially when they park close to the jetty. On those hot summer days, they pull in and out, they're quite close to the jetty, and there will be an incident one day if this is allowed to occur. So we disagree with the map saying the passive area should finish to the east or north side of the jetty. Strongly disagree with that. If you've got pair boats coming in there on both sides of the jetty, there will be an incident one day. But in summary, we'd like to see the passive area extended to at least 50 metres west of the America Yacht Club jetty, or best scenario for us will be to the point just west of the America Yacht Club jetty. With the numerous number of swimmers around the jetty, this is just too dangerous to have paired pleasure vessels in very close proximity to the swimmers. Now, saying that, I'm going to say we would like the yacht club to be continued to operate our escort boats from the yacht club and operate around the jetty and in the passive area. So we don't want pair boats one side, but on the other side we would like our club sailing activities to continue and use our. We've got 3 ribs and 1 launch. We can identify them quite easily with flags, or so the identification of a yacht club boat is quite easy. And as I said before, all our drivers have been to courses. They are qualified as club operated boat drivers and crew. And one suggestion to a question you asked Kylie, why is the Blue Gum Point why are people not using that instead of the Steamers Beach? A floating jetty on that ramp would encourage a lot more people to use that instead of the Steamers Beach wharf. So that's my presentation. So open to questions.
I'm going to leap in with, please explain to me what a floating jetty is.
It's a jetty that's pontoons, a series of pontoons with 2 poles at the end, and when the lake rises and falls, it just goes up and down with the water. It is very user friendly. The Tiana Boat Club installed one big one in their marina for boats to moor to, and then one at the ramp in the Tiana Boat Club, and it's fantastic.
So I guess my follow-on question is, that would be adding another boat ramp to an existing, or are you suggesting that it replace
No,
something?
no.
If you put it to the western or northwestern side of the ramp towards Blue Gum Point, that would serve the same function.
It would be just be an addition to the
Yeah.
ramp at Blue Gum Point.
Right, so it's a capacity issue.
different place.
Thank you. Question?
Thank you. So the boats that you use to escort the yachts, do they need to exceed 5 knots?
Yes, they are capable of exceeding 5 knots. Yes.
Do they need to do that to provide safety for the yachts?
In coaching, no, we don't. It's usually just putter and air in that 5 knot region.
So
It's only if there's a dinghy or yacht in trouble, we exceed that to get to them, and if they're trapped under the boat or something, we definitely have to exceed that speed limit to get to them in time.
yeah, sure. Okay.
But Morris, the majority of the time in the regattas, we are outside the 5 knot area anyway. In the coaching on Monday nights, more so, it's in that 5 knot area.
Right. Okay. So the yachting itself doesn't appear in that 5 knot area. It appears further out into the lake.
Normally, it occurs further out. Yes.
How is that
Occasionally,
interact?
the green fleet, the very beginners, we operate in that to keep them close to the shore.
How does that interact when they go out further? Does that interact with the floodplain?
It does, yes. But we instructions to sailors are if there's a floatplane landing or taking off, do not change course dramatically. Maintain your course, except if it's in front of the floatplane, of course. This is maintain your course, and Kylie and Ivan can see us, know where we're heading. Just keep a consistent course so that they can judge where we're heading.
That works okay. There's been no issues with that.
Yeah, it seems to, yeah.
We had the Easter regatta the weekend before Easter, and floatplane was busy all day, and there was no interaction. Race management kept the courses away from her lane or their lane.
Thank you. Thank you.
My quick question, because we're at time. But I don't want to not give you the opportunity to ask.
Thank you very much for raising any concerns regarding the true left of the wharf or the south side of the wharf as also being an issue. Wanting to extend the passive area to include the wharf and past the wharf. I'm not sure whether we can ask staff if that's a thing or not. We can come back to them. But it is a multi-user area, no doubt. And there's good relationships with America Yacht Club and floatplanes and passive swimmers and everyone else. It's just at certain times of the year I can understand when it's busy that it becomes an issue. If that's my understanding, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in that holiday period,
Christmas,
New Year, that's where the issues are.
And very similar to one other submitter who said it's not normal users of the area, it's people that are coming in at certain times that are not normal habitats or users of that area that don't understand.
The normal users acknowledge that area as a passive swim area. Some people just don't read science.
Yeah, thanks.
Agreed. Thank you. Thanks very much for your time, gentlemen. Appreciate your interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jacob Smythe from Smythe. It's terrible. I should know. It's Smythe, isn't it? Oh, sorry, Jacob. Are you?
Oh, just a second, we're just trying to.
And my views on the property. Kia ora, Jacob. You're up.
Thank you very much.
Just reminding you that you have 10 minutes and that we have read your submission, so we've probably got some questions.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Jacob Smythe and I'm appearing on behalf of the Southland Fish and Game Council. Our submission was lodged on the 16th of February this year, and we appreciate the opportunity to present our views to the hearing panel today. By way of background, Fish and Game has a statutory role in managing sports fish and game bird resources in Southland. Our focus is on safe waterways, protection of habitat, and maintaining high quality recreational opportunities for anglers and hunters. At a general level, we support the Navigational Safety Bylaw, where it promotes safety, protects habitat, and enables riverine and lake recreation. We also support a number of operational improvements proposed, such as clearer communication standards for boat users. I'd like to specifically refer to the staff report marked Appendix A, Submission Analysis and Recommendations, which we have reviewed closely. Broadly, we support the use of seasonal speed uplifts as a tool to manage competing activities on rivers. However, there are key areas where Fish and Game remains concerned or opposed. Our primary concern is the overexpansion and duration of speed limits on some rivers, particularly where this increase overlaps with peak fishing and hunting periods or sensitive habitat. While we acknowledge the rationale in the staff report for enabling speed limits, we do remain opposed to extended durations where they're not clearly justified from a safety perspective. as put forward in our submission with regard to the lower Matilda River. In relation to the Ariti and Aparima rivers, we want to be very clear on our position. While we support a managed approach to speed uplifts in parts of the Ariti and Aparima rivers, we do not support any uplift extending as far upstream as the Mount Nicholas Road Bridge, which is approximately 44 kilometres upstream of the Mossburn Bridge near the Mavora Lakes, nor as far upstream as the Aparima huts on the Aparima. These upper reaches are highly valued for both angling These upper reaches are highly valued angling environments with limited capacity to accommodate high-speed boating. Extending an uplift to this extent would be, in our view, inappropriate. More generally, our concern is that the framework applied in the staff report continues to focus primarily on navigational safety, with limiting weighting given to recreational and environmental effects. While safety is clearly the purpose of the bylaw, the practical outcome of speed uplifts is that they directly impact how rivers are used by other groups. We do note that in several cases, the staff report recommends accepting or partially accepting new or extended speed uplifts, subject to further consultation. We support this, and our position is that these changes should be approached cautiously with further discussion. Finally, I'd like to briefly reiterate our strong support for maintaining areas set aside for passive recreation, such as the prohibition on motorised vessels at South Mavora Lake. These areas are increasingly important and should be protected. We encourage the panel to consider any changes carefully to ensure they are targeted, well justified, and incorporate appropriate management controls. In this regard, we're committed to working with both the Council and other stakeholders, including Southern Jet Boat Association, to achieve an outcome that recognises safety, recreation, and habitat values. At this point, I'm happy to take any questions, given what the narrow window of opportunity to speak today.
Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate your time. Councillor Evans, have you got a question? More questions?
I was just going to ask the comment you said around the South Mavora Lake.
Yes.
Does it change to anything with regards to that at all at the moment, is there?
Well, there's a suggestion that the speed uplift for the Reti River would extend as far upstream as the Mount Nicholson Road Bridge, which is located very close to the Mavora Lakes turnoff. That's approximately 45 kilometres upstream from the Mossburn Bridge.
Okay, no, thank you.
Yep. Right.
Thank you, Jacob. Yes. What's Fishing Game's view on uplifting a permanent uplift on the reach on the Arita River from Lumsden to Mossburn?
The short answer is, and I have had a discussion with the Southern Jet Boat Association around this, is that outside of the angling season, really from through the period of June through to August, that actually would be an appropriate thing to do, particularly in terms of facilitating a recreational opportunity that's not currently available, that would not have a detrimental impact upon other riverine users. So it's certainly an area where it could be accommodated.
Okay, and what about the Mararoa River?
I think it would depend on the Mararoa River about where you were. There's some areas I think you would need to be quite careful around timing, but certainly again, if we were looking at opportunities outside the fishing season, I don't believe that would be inappropriate.
Can you elaborate a bit more on the areas that you think would be okay?
One of the issues about the Mararoa, though, is around flow. So you'd have to be quite careful around the safety aspect there. And I think if it was going to overlap with the fishing season, that would be problematic. But certainly outside the angling season, I think there would be an opportunity. One of the advantages, as you know, is that it tends to have a reasonable flow regime in that river as a result of the lakes and its headwaters.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm just, and apologies if you've already answered this because I was busy looking for it and Just the Matilda Seaward Downs stretch.
Yes.
And you've suggested 2 options. Do you have a preference for either of those options?
Sorry, just bear with me. I'll just turn to it if I may.
Yeah, it's on pages 9 and 10 of your.
Sorry, 9 and 10 of Fishing Game submission. Sorry. So I've just got 2 piles of paper on my desk at the
Yeah,
moment.
you should see mine.
Okay, sorry.
So option 1 was a permanent speed uplift from June to
Yes.
September, and option 2 was
Yeah.
also
I think in fairness to particularly the Jet Boat Association, option 2, which is slightly more complicated in the sense the split uplift does provide a further a wider opportunity for other riverine users. And I think from that perspective, that would be a good thing to do. Certainly, Fishing Game does want to see opportunities be extended to other riverine users to make use of rivers. And as a general proposition, that is a good thing. So the answer to your question is option 2, although it does lack this, I guess, the blunt simplicity of option 1.
Yes, understood completely.
Yes.
You can imagine what we're dealing with.
Yes,
that's
I
great.
take your point there.
Thank you very much for your time, and you will hear from us.
No, thank you very much. And as I say, very willing to consult further.
Yeah, great, and grateful that some of your submission was positive.
Oh, no, very good. Thank you very much. Good luck with your deliberations.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Southland Powerboat Club, Brian Ralph, who I have now just recognised. Thank you, Brian. Just reminding you that we have 10 minutes. We have read your submissions, so you don't have to read it to us, but please highlight anything that you would like us to know.
Well, I'd like you to know that the Southland Powerboat Club has been operating from where it is since 1947. We've subscribed as much as possible as we can to the rules and requirements of the area, and we've also carried a degree of responsibility to look after that area, not just in the sense of the physical sense, but the philosophical sense of trying to get people to do the right thing and all that sort of stuff. We've sort of tried to keep a weatherly eye on that sort of thing. I guess really I'm here to answer what you may see as issues that you're trying to solve with legislation, perhaps, and that is that our sport is actually competitive powerboat racing. We set our course out round buoys set in a certain track on the river. It's all within the confines of the area that's allocated to us. Doesn't go out of sight. Our control tower and staff and facilities and equipment is all geared for that area. So we operate on the main premise of safety. That's safety for our competitors, safety for our staff, safety for the public who may get in some invidious position to be affected by something that happens. For example, there was an accident at Lake Rotoiti recently where a boat went up the bank and hit a big park bench sitting in the national park there. And I mean, you can't work out what's going to happen until it happens sometimes. And we take every chance we can to cover contingencies. Not that that's going to happen at our river, but that's an example that with racing things can happen. We try and cover all those things. In terms of the rules that you're requiring generally to be subscribed to, some of ours are even more stringent, that we have to operate under the people that we're affiliated with, which is the New Zealand Powerboat Federation, who in turn has the New Zealand Powerboat Association affiliated to them. And they are, the New Zealand Federation is the New Zealand leased body of the UIM. So we have quite a heavy tier of requirements, especially in safety communications, which you require in some of your bylaws. We actually have a further level of requirement than you would deem reasonable. So we're over reasonable. But the point is that a lot of the things that we've done are set up around safety. We have a scheduled meeting. It starts at a certain time, finishes at a certain time, and the laws that we have to operate, or the rules that we have to operate under, must be complied with. It's part of just how we operate. With communications, our boats don't have that. We have means of if a boat's in trouble, they have to have a yellow paddle as part of their structural requirements or their scrutineering, and a raised paddle means they need assistance. So we have that form of communication, but this is all within the umbrella of an area, a physical area, where our administration of our control tower staff, our rescue boats at each end, our people in the middle are all viewing what's going on at the time, and there is an overview of safety. So some of the requirements, like to have communication on a race boat, is not what's needed. To make that mandatory for us is just a wee bit unnecessary, we feel. So we're just looking for exemptions on some of the requirements that you people are wanting, which are all good. We don't have any issue with them, but in our case, they're a wee bit superfluous. We already have a lot of the contingencies covered that you would see the need for the equipment that you're asking for to be on particular boats or particular places. We're already covering those points. So yeah, we are asking for an exemption. Like we say, we've been operating there since 1947 at that spot. There's been some issues over the years. They've been resolved. We have a pretty good track record with our neighbours and such like. One of the suggestions that we have would be trying to tap into the area of people that you don't have. You have your staff and all that sort of thing, but they do what they do and may not be aware of what we're doing. A couple of times in recent times, we've had staff members of Environment South and come along to our club meetings, and that's been very enlightening for us and for them. There is a bunch of people who are at the coalface who can be at the coalface, who can mould the requirements for particular places. So that would give you people the information you need to work the legislation you have to, but in a practical way, not an arbitrary way that descends on people unnecessarily. I'm not saying that you do that. I'm just suggesting that the possibility can be removed of that happening.
Okay. Questions?
Thank you. I'm not quite clear about what you mean by asking for exemptions.
Well, on the rules of you require a form of communication with radios or cell phone or something like that. In a race boat, the kit just wouldn't allow it. A race boat is a pretty bare instrument, and it's only run in the area of the race course under the jurisdiction of people who have radios and have all sorts of communication. And so we don't want to contravene any rules that apply to the general population. But some of the situations, if you put a blanket proposal or a blanket requirement that there must be communication on a boat, in our case, it's impractical, and B, it's not necessary. We already have, under the operational sphere that we work in, that's already covered. We don't we don't think it needs extra. We do think that form of communication. There's one example, and there are some like that in the requirement.
Were they outlined in your submission? I can't.
Sorry.
Were they outlined in your submission, the things that you are asking for?
Yeah, we
Listen to the radio.
we brought up concerns about those things, the particular things that were in part 4's operating requirements for communication equipment, for example. Our answer to that was our racing vessels do not have communication, but safety driver rescue craft have necessary communication to the control tower on shore. They have radio contact. For further understanding, our race circuit is approximately 500 millimetre straights with turns around buoys, so oversight continually from control tower and safety personnel is present. There is already an overview that covers the requirements that you would have to put on the general population. So we just asked for an exemption from that, and that will only be under the operating umbrella of the New Zealand, of the Southern Powerboat Club, who is affiliated to the New Zealand Powerboat Association, which have requirements in terms of safety. So
when you're operating an event, for example.
yes. There is a slight gap in that with if guys are wanting to test their boats. But we ask guys, if they're going out to test the boat, there's only going to be one boat out there, that they have some cover observing them. That we try and make it as safe for everybody as we can. That's just what we try and do.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you. So I notice here you've got a few parts within the draft that are going to affect you, but are these changes within the proposal that are going to alter the way that you operate your club, or are these just things that were already in the bylaw as such, like section 8.3 minimum age of operating power vessels and sort of stuff?
Well, probably any change will make a difference, but what degree they'll be, we would have to acquaint ourselves once that change was made to work that out. For example, the designation of the areas is now redundant, really, because there's not a water skiing element there. The jet skiing element doesn't seem to have any organisation. We've actually talked with the rowing clubs, and we can talk with them all the time, but we would like the designation of the area probably to stay the same, but not to. We'd really just like to keep doing what we've been doing. That's our own personal deal from the Powerboat Club. We'd like to keep doing what we're doing. We realise with the pressure of recreation now, there's more boat users. We have had some difficulty, or not difficulty, but we've had sometimes we've had to deal with people encroaching on our course. So the clarity for people other than powerboaters or rowers or whatever using the same area is sometimes a bit light. I don't know if drafts or public notices or that sort of thing, while they might indemnify people in terms of that they're there and people should recognise them, people may not obey them. It's one of the unfortunate things when you bring people into an equation.
Understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions, apart from just clarifying that the Southland Water Ski Club does not exist. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
They've been in limbo, or they've been in recess for some probably 4 years now, I guess, something like that. It's not our business, but,
Kind of is.
thank you.
Thanks very much,
Thank
Ryan. Appreciate your time. We have got a scheduled break now. Mr. McHugh, are you here? Still not here? Okay. And we are due to reconvene at 11:10, but we might make that 15:15 so that those of us who need to go to the bathroom have actually got time to do that. If you would like to have a cup of coffee or tea or whatever, Liz is just opening the door there for you. And we'll see you back here at 11:15. Righto, folks, thank you. We'll get started again. We've got Ken Cochran / oh yes, sorry, I was misreading the notes. Mr. Cochran, you are welcome. Just reminding you, you have 10 minutes and the beeper will be a bit louder this time, so you'll actually be able to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to express my thoughts and opinions today. First of all, I'd like to start by congratulating ES staff and the work that they've done in forming the proposed draft bylaws across the board. And I think they've done a reasonably good job. Before I start, a little bit about me. I'm a fisherman, I'm a hunter, I'm a whitebaiter and a recreational jet boater. I was a fishing guide for 17 years in a past life, served 2 terms on the Southern Fishing Game Council, and also sat on the Whitebait Working Party Committee for Department of Conservation on behalf of the island. I've limited my submissions today to 2 key points for your consideration, specifically around the speed uplifts on the Ariti River, which was one of my submissions. And I'll isolate to that point today because the other parts of my submission have been reasonably covered off in Appendix B of the recommendations. Okay. So I'll start with, I have 2 points. I'll start with point 1. I have a genuine concern about the misunderstanding and the role and the obligations of ES staff in relation to forming the draft review. And that is evidenced primarily by the response on page 19 of my submission for the uplifting on the Ariti River between Lumsden and Dipton. I'm not going to read what it is, but I draw reference to that point that essentially what the staff are saying is that you've already got from Winton to Dipton, and that's your allocation. There's no need because you've got plenty of opportunity. Now that for me is not an acceptable response because included with that, they identify the risk factor. The irony in this situation is that from the Dipton Bridge south to Winton, anglers and other recreational users, swimmers and lilo floaters cohabitate with jet boats. But on the other side of the bridge, they're saying it's not safe and that the risks are not worth taking the chance. So I would like to offer the panel today some documentation which demonstrates that the risks for jet boating with other river users is not relevant. I'm going to leave these with you. There is a couple of extensive documents here which list the Southland jet boat accidents from 2010 to 2025. It lists where they happened, how they happened, the cause for the concern, and it also offers a source link for verification. Along with that information is also a comprehensive list of the Canterbury jet boat accidents over exactly the same period. Now, what's interesting is that the Southland accidents show no evidence whatsoever that anybody else was involved in a jet boat accident other than the jet boaters themselves. That's understandable in Southland because we've basically got a set of rules that says you can't jet boat rivers in the summertime, except for uplifters. So clearly it would demonstrate that there's going to be less accidents. But when I refer to the Canterbury jet boat accidents, for which in Canterbury they have many, many rivers which fishermen, floaters, kayakers, and everybody cohabitate. The same set of data statistics come out and show there is no accidents that involve anybody else other than the people driving the jet boats or their passengers. So to run an argument that rejects my submission from one side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge in the Erie River really becomes a bit of an irony. So when we look at those statistics and we remove risk from the equation, we really end up with an argument based on allocation. You've had your turn, right? That's not really within the mandate of the Maritime Safety Act, and or nor is it part of the assessment criteria. So that's my point one, right? And that point only leads to two possible conclusions. Either it's not safe to navigate jet boats around other river users, which this information shows it clearly is, or B, there's other user groups which have been given priority in the summer period. And that would disappoint me if we found ourselves in that position. So, point two, removing jet boat access from waterways during a fishing season in the Upper Arete between Lumsden and Mossburn is counterintuitive to the mandate of Fish and Game, who have argued for 35 years that we don't want these jet boats on the river. Now that's an interesting conundrum, because we know, and it was presented, and I'm not going to offer the evidence because it's been presented already by JBNZ this morning, that there is one angler's access between Lumsden and Mossburn. That single angler's access is very close to the start of that whole section of river. It encompasses 21 kilometres. So in effect, that 21 kilometres of river in the summertime is not only inaccessible by anglers unless they want to walk a million miles, it's also not accessible to jet boaters unless they have a single day uplifting, maybe in the season, but the reluctance has been the draft post. So that's kind of the other oxymoron. All of a sudden, we've got a 21 kilometre section of river which is neither accessible to jet boaters or fishermen. So my point that I'd like to make is that other conservancies in the South Island cohabitate. They allow jet boating and angling to work together. They allow the rivers and the waterways to become a corridor and access to fishing. In summary, that's a fairly simple equation for me. We find ourselves in a position that we have to make decisions for the next 10 years. And we don't know what that 10 years is going to look like. What we do know that in the last few years, Fish and Game have lost a lot of anglers' accesses through their own actions. So they've actually caused trouble for their own user group. They've violently opposed fishing using boats to access waterways in the summer season for their own personal and self reasons. The evidence is very clear that jet boaters don't kill fishermen. So I don't know why we've found ourselves in 2026 in this position. I urge the committee to have a close look at these 2 points. And I urge the committee to review the information that's put together by the ES staff, because it has specific undertones of allocation and priority. And it seems to have removed themselves from the focus of the Maritime Safety Bylaw, the Act, and the provisions that they should be working under. I thank you for your time and look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cochrane. I just have a really quick question. You are seeking a permanent speed uplift on the Arete River from Lumsden to Dipman, is that correct?
That's correct. And I'm supporting the seasonal uplifting, but would prefer also the uplifting from Lumsden to Mossburn.
What, sorry, further question. Seasonal being what to you? What's your definition of a season?
Well, the proposals that are on the table at the moment that fishing games seem to be a little bit receptive to at the moment is that yes, you can. If we're going to have to put up with these jolly jet boats on our river, we'll put up with them in any time other than in the fishing season.
Right.
And what I've just demonstrated is that here's a situation on one section of a river where it's incredibly difficult to get to go angling anyway, but still another user group will argue that we don't want you there in the fishing season, even if we can't get there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
No, thank you for the information that you're going to share with us as well. So what you're saying is the fishermen are jet boaters as well, just like yourself, and use jet boats to act as engines.
Well, what I'm saying is as increasingly as the situation closes in on us in Southland, through the change of the farming situations, the losing of accesses across the board, we've got to look for other ways to access our fisheries. And then it would always become a corridor to access those fisheries.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks. Just leave those with team, maybe. Thanks.
Thank you for that.
We have the Bluff Yacht Club next, and I'm guessing that that's Conway rather than Wade. Is that correct? Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Conway, for your time. Just remind everybody that you have 10 minutes. How you use that's up to you, but if you'd like us to be able to ask you questions, then there's some time for that. Sure, thank you.
Hi, my name's Bruce Conway, and today I'm representing Bluff Yacht Club in the place of the Commodore Vance Quaid. Our club has 59 financial members, plus many junior sailors. Personally, I've been sailing on and off since the 1980s at the Bluff Yacht Club, and been a committee member for 5 years at that time. I'm one of the rescue boat drivers. I'm formerly a sailing instructor for Yachting New Zealand, and I'm currently responsible for the club's adult Learn to Sail program. As regular users, Bluff Yacht Club has a very strong interest in navigational safety at Bluff. In general, our club's supportive of the revised bylaw, but I'd like to speak to 3 points in our submission. And I assume that the submission has been read.
Absolutely.
These photos, you can see from the first photo that we're a family-friendly club with a wide range of ages, and lots of connection to Bluff Township and the harbour. And we support local schools by running sailing for the William Pike Challenge and the Runa program. So the first thing I want to talk about is the main boat ramp. The club has an extensive history with the boat ramp, including constructing it originally, regularly maintaining it, plus lots of fundraising drives and major upgrades over the years in association with the Southland Trade Ops Quadrant and other user groups. So you can see in the second group of photos there, you can see the small dinghies are launched down a little ramp using beach trolleys, but the large boats, catamarans, sport boats, trailer yachts, and all our safety boats have to go on their road trailers down the main ramp. So we understand that the Environment Southland has delegated power to the Invercargill City Council. We believe that the way the fees are going to be structured will impact our range of activities we can do. So we would like to see that main boat ramp remains accessible, user-friendly, because it needs some upgrading, and free of charge for the club and all recreational users. So it's a free of charge thing we would like to see, not a user pays thing. Second point, if you flip over to the other side, is the congestion of moorings in front of the ramps and yacht club and museum area. In the past, that area was relatively free of moorings, and we used it for our learn to sail activities, particularly for the beginners, so they could learn in a relatively sheltered area. It's calmer there than it is out in the main harbour, and they didn't have to worry about tangling with moorings and that kind of thing. And also people that were sailing from the ramps out to the main harbour, they could just go across that area out through the channel into the main harbour. They didn't have to sort of weave their way around. Now there's an increased number of moorings, some quite close to the slipways, and it becomes a challenge. It's a floating network of floating hazards. Normal sailing becomes a challenge. Learners just freak out and panic and just do nothing. So they end up colliding with moored boats and getting snagged on mooring ropes and that kind of thing. That's quite a common occurrence. If it's light weather or there's a lot of tide flowing through there or it's gusty winds, it's just unnecessarily hard and scary for people to weave in and out under some sort of control to get back to the ramp. And it's really hard if you're towing a group of dinghies. You've decided the wind is too strong or the conditions are not favourable. I'm going to tow you back to the ramp. It's like quite difficult to get them back there without having someone draped in front of boats and things. And if it's strong winds or tidal flows and the experienced sailors are going to go out, even then it's quite exciting, perhaps a wee bit dodgy. I've hit moored boats and bumped into the new floating pontoon because it's not in the position it was supposed to be in. So we would love to be able to put our learn to sail activities back in there and have unimpeded navigation. So we submit that area is kept clear of unnecessary moorings, and that is already in the coastal plan. So we would like to see that provision strengthened, and Environment Southland actually act on its own rules there and get that area clear. The third point is rock lobster pots and other holding pots out in the sailing area. The last 30 years, the number of pots out there holding cages has been increasing. I went back and looked at correspondence from the year 2000 when we were running big regattas and national regattas there, and we were trying to get the Port Authority to clear those so we could run these regattas. On Sunday when we went out there, we were looking at the third set of the last photos on the bottom of that page there. We've been out there and photographed one of the yachts in front of some of the mooring. I estimated to be over 100 buoys out there just in the middle of the area between the Island Harbour and the Tiwai Wharf, which is our sailing area. And they're all in pairs with a rope connecting them so that the fishermen can pick them up easily. And that's just a maze of man-made hazards. Frequently hit those obstacles. I hit one in a powerboat the other night, and it was a bit of a shock. wanted to get the propeller caught around the thing. That would have meant we were disabled for a while. We sorted that out. You see yachts sailing along and suddenly they tip up, and then sometimes they actually capsize because they've caught their rudder or centreboard. Swimmers and ropes don't mix in water. We know that in kayaking, you don't want to have any ropes around people swimming in the water, and it's the same in Bluff Harbour. If you've got ropes, tidal flow, and then lots of floating polypropylene ropes, and somebody's in there struggling around, if they get a leg wrapped around something, the tide carries them. It's in the Navigational Safety Bylaws, page 16, 2.9. No person shall place any obstruction, vessel, fishing apparatus in any waterway that's likely to restrict navigation, have potential to cause injury or death to a person or cause damage to a property. So those buoys which are above the cages, holding cages, can do all of those things. So we would like to be able to use that area to set racing courses without having buoys in the middle of our start line, in the middle of our sailing areas and that kind of thing. So we would like to see an area, a clear zone designated for sailing between the Island Harbour and the Tiwai Wharf, in which that area, that the fishing equipment is moved. We don't mind if it's moved the other side of the Tiwai Wharf, a little bit up the channel and that kind of thing. We can live within a smaller area. Yeah. So thank you. That's my submission.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Rodway?
Oh, yes, Madam Chair. I should say that I know Bruce very well and his family, so just declaring that.
Also me.
Do you use the Awaroba area as well? Do you?
No, that was the Invercargill Yacht Club from 20 or 30 years ago. It's the other side of a bridge, so you can't sail.
So this is really the only area that you can use?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't go on the seaward side of the Tiwai Wharf for a general sailing unless we're departing to Stewart Island, because that's a lot of shipping and boat movements there. We go out and go up from that line.
Yeah. So the area you would like to be clear of buoys and other stuff that could cause a problem. Is that clearly set out on a map somewhere so that we can see?
We did submit that to the Commercial Fishermen's Group before we had a big regatta in probably February, or maybe last year we submitted that, and it might have gone a copy to Southport or something like that.
Is that in your submission? I don't recall.
I asked that question late last night and I'm not sure if it was or not, but we can supply that.
Did you get that to us today?
I tried to get it last night, we'll try and get it today.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, there was a map that we were saying, can you please, for this national regatta, clear this area, and with lots of discussion to and fro, then it sort of fell between the cracks.
Yeah, and to that point, can you give us an idea of how big that area might be that you would require?
If we were running trailer yacht events, the distance between the legs is 1,000 metres, 1 kilometre.
Right.
So, and I'm not sure how long the Island Harbour is. It's probably getting on for that length. So it's sort of approximately the area of the Island Harbour, but transferred into the middle of the thing, probably like a kilometre.
That gives us an idea.
500 metre radius kind of thing.
My other question is the boat ramp and your suggestion that there be no user charges for the club and its members only, or for everybody?
We discussed it at our committee, and the committee was of the opinion that it should be for a public facility, free of charge for everybody. Okay.
And I also need to clarify who maintains that boat ramp.
My understanding is a few years ago, the Bluff Yacht Club transferred ownership to the Invercargill City Council, or just whatever other party it was, because we could no longer maintain it given the amount of usage that it had.
Right.
Um,
So if there were no user charges for that, who would pay to have it maintained?
it's like a public park or a skate park or something like that, it would come out from some other budget.
Sure. Yes. All of the taxpayers, correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Question?
No, just, it's not an area that I sort of understand. It would be good to get a map as some other panel members have said. By the sounds of it, it sounds like activities have slowly built in and reduced your ability for recreational sailors. And also you say about the ramp that it was put in by the yacht club, and ownership has transferred over. But you also said in your submission that you've raised funds to upkeep and maintain that boat ramp. So is that after you've given ownership away, you've still managed to?
No, I remember fundraising 20 years ago and that kind of thing.
Sorry, can I just go back to that actually, Bruce? How many, can you give us an idea of how many other people use that boat ramp apart from your club members?
No, only some. If you arrive there sometimes on a sailing day, there might be 20 or 30 boat trailers there. People have gone off fishing in the straits. So it's a very popular ramp. It's a very good ramp for much more popular than the one that's above the bridge.
Yeah, sure. I'm aware that the Invercargill City Council are the next submitters, so we'll probably cover this again.
I have a digital copy, or a photocopy in my oral. That's what.
Yep, absolutely. And if you could send us that map
Yep.
as soon as for deliberations this afternoon, that would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. And the Invercargill City Council, you are. Thank you. You have drilled 10 minutes. We've read your submission. Just give us the highlights if you would. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you, Chair and Councillors, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Bowen, Strategy Manager for Parks and Rec. This is Cassie Horton, Senior Open Spaces Planner. Look, I know you've read the submission, so I'll cover our points briefly. The main topics are around safe swimming, delegation to ICC around the non-compliant use of the bluff program, moorings associated with that, and also a couple of general comments at the end. So firstly, safe swimming. So as part of the consent conditions for the upgrade that's recently been undertaken at the bluff program, there was a requirement to investigate how we can ensure that we've got safe swimming in this location. And so through public consultation and national analysis of other bylaws in the space, that can be achieved through a variation to the bylaw. And so you'll see in here that under clause 30.2b, while swimming is prohibited generally, that does not apply if the activity undertaken is in a manner which does not interfere with berthing or departure of any vessel. So effectively it gives the water vessels the right of way, but if there's no one there, then it's also deemed a place that would not be prohibited. So it's not something that we encourage, but it's just writing in the bylaw. When we did the public consultation, there wasn't a whole lot of interest around developing a restricted area solely for swimming. It was simply around not prohibiting the use. From there, I'll hand over to Cassie just to talk about the moorings associated with the program.
Yes, so the submission was purely, it was more focused on the boat ramp, but since we've been having discussions with Environment Southland staff, it's just getting that understanding on the different accountabilities of structures in the water versus on land. So my point's really just across noting that ICC and ES have looked at the accountabilities of who's looking into what, but it will really reinforce the collaboration that we need to have moving forward for those structures and how we manage non-compliance with structures within the marina area. And for compliance to be formalised, I'll hand back to Chris to talk about the clause on the delegations to ICC.
Thanks, Cass. So delegation to ICC for compliance, what does that actually mean? And so at the moment, our signage for non-compliance means that you get an additional fee. And so the enforceability of that additional fee is somewhat limited. Having it in a bylaw gives the ability for a fine to be issued. And so for a fine to be issued, that then the enforcement of that people will know. Undertaking the policy through this bylaw means the ICC don't have to create another bylaw just solely for this purpose. So it seemed to make sense just to actually undertake this within Environment Southland's bylaw. Noting the comments before around fees and charges, this is an ICC owned asset under the partnership agreement that was signed in 2019 between Southport and Environment Southland. And so we've got our fees and charges at the moment out for consultation. It closes tomorrow, just as a point of note. And we have included or amended this year to include discounts for clubs, because we have been listening to our community around the partnership agreement did formalise it to use a pay system, but we also want to listen to our community around what's effective for those locals. Enough for me, so I'll hand back over to Cass for some general comments.
The only key things we had through generally were around the understanding making sure that the maps were current and accurate. And I think since our submission, the reference to the water speed cups have been removed, so that's great. So it wasn't nothing major, just ensuring that you can see really clearly on the map. On the previous bylaw, you could see well, because the Sandy Point Reserve adjoining the Lower Reshi River, you could see where the bridge was, and then the little bit just to the north, whereas in the new one, it was sort of cut off from there, so it was a little bit hard just to gauge the full picture of that space. And in closing, overall, ICC supports the proposed navigation and safety bylaw. We thank Environment Southland for engaging with us early and constructively, and the points raised were more targeted practical requirements that improve clarity, safety and implementation. ICC is keen to continue working collaboratively and appreciates the opportunity to be heard today. Thank you, and we welcome any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Evans?
No questions. Good to hear consultations finishing tomorrow, and positive around discount for clubs. Thank you very much.
Yes, regarding the yacht club's request for free use of the ramp, would that be a problem for the City Council?
So that would be an unbudgeted line item that we would need to take to council for approval. However, it would go against the partnership agreement that we've got with Southport and Environment Southland. And so we'd have to work through those technical changes if that was a request.
Right. Okay, thank you. And the other one then is about the man-made hazards that are out there, the buoys and things. I understand from what the previous submitter said is that there are regulations that control those that so they shouldn't really be there. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, that's our understanding as well. But there should not be anything tied to the boat ramp when it's not being used by a vessel. So basically, anything you bring in, you have to remove. And so there should not be anything associated with the boat ramp dragging into the water.
So does this bylaw and existing laws, in fact, provide resources for enforcement of that?
As it stands now, with delegation to ICC around the Bluff boat ramp, so it does give us the ability to enforce against that. Outside of the Bluff boat ramp, I'm not sure of that answer.
Okay, that's something I need to find out about. Thank you very much.
You note in your submission that the definition of a commercial jetty was also something you were concerned about. Could you just give us a bit what your definition of a commercial jetty might be?
I'll just jump up and just, initially this is predominantly a recreation program.
Yeah.
And so while within our fees and charges, we do have a commercial line in there. The size of that fine, the size of that fee, trying to encourage people to use other locations for their commercial activity. So that's why we were looking for a definition within this file.
So that there's no confusion between what they're paying or using for commercial jetty and the boat rental.
Recreation use.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. No, that's all from me as well. So thanks very much for your time and your succinct submission.
Got it. Happy to.
And I might suggest that you talk to Mr. Conway on your way out. Thank you. We're not going to take a break at this point because we've only got one submitter and I believe they're here. So Chris Owen, if you are available, you've been here right from the get-go, I believe. So thank you,
just woke me up.
Thank you for your patience and over to you.
No worries. Thank you for the opportunity today and the work that's been done so far. Like, there's a lot of effort behind the scenes goes into these sorts of documents, a lot of eye dotting, etc. Just to introduce myself, I'm Chris Owen. I'm a contractor for Environment Southland, providing boat contracting services. I've got a maritime transport operating certificate. I work in the rivers, lakes and lagoons in Southland. I've also served 3 terms on the Southland Fish and Game Council and also served on the New Zealand Fish and Game Council. I'm also a member of the Jet Boat Association. So I've got a very confused helmet. I've got a lot of things going on here. So it's fair to say I'm keen on fishing, duck shooting, recreational jet boating. If I'm not standing in water, I'm probably feeling like there's something wrong with me because it seems to be all I do. But today I'm here for personal reasons and not business. In the submission, we've got Jacobs River Estuary and Waiau River 2K below to a Kipri to the sea. I see you've adjusted, or staff's adjusted, and I thank you for that. That's great work. But today I want to focus on the Thornbury Bridge to the estuary and the Wallacestown Bridge to the Duns Road Bridge. I'll speak to these 2 areas together because they're similar sort of waterways and have the same outcome basically. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that fishermen and duck hunters are the main boat users in these 2 lowland areas. Boating is a primary vehicle to get people to their fishing and hunting spots in those lowland waters. Boating is not done in conflict with fishing. It is actually the vehicle or the conduit to get you to your spot. It could be, you see a lot of white boaters using boats to get to spots during the access isn't quite so great from the vehicle, etc. In my experience in working in those lowland rivers, most of the users seem to ignore the 5-knot speed limit. That is commonplace. Just check out the boat ramp on the side of the Oreti River at the Ferry Road Bridge or the Aparima Road at Wilson Road. You will just see how busy those boat ramps are at times. So there is, fair to say, a reasonable amount of boating going on in those lowland waters. And those people are chasing their recreational activities. So if you're looking at the lowland rivers, access is difficult without a boat. Farming community has changed over the years. Health and safety regulations have come in, and other reasons. Access for people has become more difficult to get to the river or be able to fish or do those things. I'd like the panel to understand and recognise there is a genuine need for a consideration for a permanent uplifting to at least legitimise the status quo that is going on in those lower Arete and lower Aparima rivers. Just in reading the staff recommendation, I think the very people that you're trying to protect with the 5 knot rule are the ones that are actually inhibiting from their sport. So a few thoughts there. Possibly a misunderstanding of who uses these types of lowland waterways and what they're actually used for. They're not the greatest bit of water. They're pretty dark and brown and murky in most of it, but they are a haven for people who chase duck hunting and white baiting and fishing from getting access from a boat. My recommendation is you uplift the speed, put in a permanent speed uplifting in these 2 areas. As for the wider Arete River, that has been talked about today, I can work on any given day right through all the way up to Mosburn and not see a fisherman. In fact, the most people we see are people walking dogs on the side of the river. So it's just became, in overall view is during fishing season or during duck shooting season, the most duck shooting done is done in one weekend. It's done an opening weekend. Fishing Game's own data, I know that, is that's where the duck shooting gets done. It's one weekend. After that, it's like 3% of duck shooting happens from there on and in the next 2 months. So be careful not to be drawn into, we must exclude the season for this group of people or for another group of people. Thank you for the opportunity to submit. ES is doing a great job with looking at these navigational bylaws, and again, it's not an easy task, and I wouldn't want the task. You're all doing very well. So if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to.
Thank you. Councillor Evans, do you have a question?
Not really, just clarification that your submission is very similar to ours.
Yes.
I'll take that into account.
Yes.
Seems
to be what I've heard today. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I should say I also know Chris quite well from past things, but
Yes,
I would like to ask you about the lower Arete River and whether or not you think there's a change of character in the river from the Makarewa or the West Plains Bridge upstream compared to downstream, especially if you're thinking low tide, and whether or not jet boating or going faster than 5 knots in that particular area above the Makarewa confluence is as safe as downstream, where, in my experience, the river is quite a lot wider.
I don't see any issue with anything through there at all, Morris. No, it's quite, what would you say, pretty ho-hum. Yeah, there's nothing in there of spectacular concern or difficulty, or it's pretty low-hanging fruit as far as boating goes. You get all the way up past a couple of corners past the Makarewa Junction, you're still in the tidal waters and still quite large, and even when you turn into where it starts to clear up and you're seeing that freshwater wedge change, the next stretch right up to the Wallerstown Bridge is pretty basic boating. Yeah, I don't see anything in there I don't see anything in there that's more difficult, and you could definitely use a prop boat. Yeah, right up to past a couple of corners past the Makarewa Junction. So it's not just encompassing jet boats, it's actually prop boats as well, and access that area reasonably safely.
Thank you. 2 other questions, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
The same sort of question really in regards to the lower Aparima from the Thornbury Bridge down to the next bridge.
Yes.
That's not very, but it's narrow and winding. Would you think that it is safe to travel at higher speeds in that area?
I think that's been a wee bit of a theme today from a couple of, or definitely from Jacob, that he used the word high speed, and I think you've got to disassociate yourself with the racing jet boat compared to someone that's wanting to access it to going fishing or duck shooting. You know, my cruising speed is 28 kilometres an hour, and that's slower than what you're supposed to go through roadworks. So this high speed, I think you've got to be very cautious using that term. So yeah, that's the first point. It's pretty basic boating through there, Morris. It's one dimensional. There's no braids. There's a few shelves, but it's I've worked in there a few times, and I don't see any issues with that. There's very limited anglers access through there. There's only the white gates, and people can't walk for great distance. So even though there is an angler's access, it doesn't actually allow you a whole lot of angling, because you've got that, it's pretty tiger country and hard walking. So what boating those sections is going to allow to do is people can then go into there and fish a stretch, and then drift back down and fish another stretch. So that's how I see that it opens up more fishing, and then it actually shuts down. I see it sort of giving fishing game more opportunity than less. It's basic boating. There isn't a whole lot of people in there. And again, it's not the greatest water for swimming. It probably reaches the bathing at most of the time. So other users, pretty minimal. And the same with the Arete. It's not the greatest bit of water. You wouldn't want to stick your head under it. So did I answer the question or go off track?
No, I have no questions actually. You've answered them by my colleagues. So,
yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Much appreciated.
Right, folks, that does bring us to the end of the submitters section of the hearing, which means that we might, and we're due to adjourn at 12 anyway, so we've randomly caught ourselves up. Mr. McHugh hasn't arrived, has he? No, okay. So we'll adjourn for lunch and begin deliberations at 1 o'clock, which I believe are a public opportunity also. So you're welcome to come back and observe that if you wish. Otherwise, you will hear in due course what happens next, and you'll hear from us. Thank you.